2, 3, 4.
Run up your engines! Now that things are starting to open up here in Texas with this pandemic, I'm going to show you two odd things that happened to my customers' cars who didn't drive them for about a month, but when they did, strange things happened. Now, nobody would really expect this. Customer had his car parked for about a month, right? And he said it was running fine when he left it, and he took it on the highway, and when he got going 55, 60, the whole car started shaking. Not just the steering wheel, the whole car. And he said it didn't do that before. What could have gone wrong? Now, who knows? You got to go about this logically, right? So here's what I did, and here's what anybody can do. I got my jack and jack stands. Here they are, and I jacked the vehicle up in the air. I'll show the illustration with my Celica. First, I jacked up one side, found the jack point. Now, before I stick the jack stand in the front, we're just going to spin the back tire to see if it's got a problem. Because sometimes if a car sits too long, the rubber on the tire will start separating. If they're old tires, it'll be warped. So we're going to spin the back one first, see if it's got any warpage. And since we got the car jacked up in the air, we're not getting under it. We don't need a jack stand under here. We're just going to spin it. So as we spin it, we're looking for a part that would go lump, lump. And as we spin it, we can see it's all pretty round. It's where one side goes up and down. It's all evenly worn. So this tire isn't warped. And of course, I don't trust anyone, so I grab it. There's no play. The bearing's okay. It's not wobbling or anything. So there's nothing wrong with this tire that we can see. Now we're going to stick the jack stand on the side. We can't check this yet because this is a front wheel drive car. And that's connected to the axle. It won't spin freely. So we're going to put a jack stand under the car. We'll let the jack down. And we'll jack the other side up in the air. So I'll put this one on the jack point and jack it up in the air. And we'll do the same thing with this back tire. We'll spin it. And we can see it's not wobbling. It's going straight. There's nothing wrong. And when we pull on it, there's no play. The wheel bearing's okay. So that looks okay. And now to be on the safe side, we're going to stick a jack stand on this side too. Since the front wheel drives the car, it's connected to the axle and the transmission. A good way of doing this is you got it up on jack stands now. You can start the car and run it, and the engine will spin the tires. We can check it a lot easier that way. This way we can just unlock the door. Since the jack's in the way on the other side. Start her up. Put it in gear. And as you can see, the wheel's now spinning. And when you look closely, it's not wobbling. So that's okay. Then we go to the other side. Check that tire. And as you can see, it's not wobbling much. That's not what's causing the problem. Now granted, that side's wobbling a little bit more than the other side. The car does have 240,000 miles. Ages ago, I put a wheel bearing on the right front one, but I didn't the left front one. So at some point in time, I'm going to have to put a wheel bearing on the left front one. But the tire itself isn't out around. Why is this car shaking after it's sat for a month? Well, it took a little detective work for me to figure this out. I said, have you done anything to the car the month that it was sitting there? Because it didn't do this before you parked it, before the pandemic. And he said, well, the left rear tire was going flat, so I put some Fix-A-Flat in it. And I thought, ha, I found your problem. There's liquid stuff in here. You put it in to stop leaks, and it can work quite well. But look at the directions. Look what it says. Immediately drive the car 2 to 4 miles to allow tire pressure to increase and sealant to spread evenly inside the tire. Aha! So he didn't do that. And it worked. When he brought it over here, the tire was full of air. It hadn't gone all flat again. But this stuff kind of gets a little gummy. You let it sit there. Coagulates. There's a lump. I've even seen on some sensitive cars, even if you do it like it says, there's too much liquid inside the tire which bounces around. Guess what that does? It keeps changing the balance of the tire as you drive because it's moving around. Like you had a little lump that moves around. The weights to balance the tire can't counteract something that's moving, and it can cause problems like that, especially at higher speeds. The older ones used to say do not use over a certain speed. Well, what did I do? He had a spare tire, so I took off the left rear tire that he'd put the Fix-A-Flat in, put on a spare, took it for a drive. Guess what? It didn't shake anymore. Sitting all that time with the Fix-A-Flat in it made it go out of balance. And since it was in the rear, the whole car kind of shook. If it was in the front, it would have been more your steering wheel going out from lack of balance on the front. But when you have a problem in the back, it often makes the whole car kind of vibrate. Who would have thought the pandemic would make your car vibrate? Well, in his case, it did. Now, the second oddball thing I found from people letting their car sit, not driving it during the pandemic, they parked his car Had no problems. Then after a month, he's driving around and his anti-lock brake lights came on. And again, I said, hey, did you do anything to your car? He said, no, I just parked it there. And I checked his tire pressure. They were all the same and he hadn't added anything in it. Why is his ABS light coming on? And I said, are you sure it didn't come on before you parked it? He said, no, nothing ever came on. But now it's on. So I got out my trusty Autel tire pressure monitoring system. Now only mechanics are going to have this, but any good mechanic should have one. And what it does is, it's got a little tire pressure monitoring scan tool. It does codes, does all kinds of things, but the coolest thing is, it checks to see if the tire pressure monitoring system is working correctly. A lot of cars, the tire pressure monitoring system has to do with the anti-lock brake system. So in his case, I walked around the car with it because it can pick up signals, and I saw that the speed monitor on the right front tire wasn't working correctly. It wasn't giving the correct signal out. Now most of these are magnetic reluctor assemblies. It's just a piece that spins around and the sensor measures the ring going along. So it knows what speed your wheels are going at. Well, just sitting there shouldn't bother anything electronic and magnetic. It's just sitting there. But they measure these rings spinning around. The rings are often made out of steel. What does steel do when it just sits? A lot of times it rusts. And it had rained a lot during that month. If any of those assemblies get rust build up on them, it can give a weird reading. You get enough rust, it's going to make the signal that the ABS sensor picks up be squirrely. It's got to be a clean signal. If there's rust on parts, they generally don't rust evenly. It's going to be uneven. It's going to make the sensor go nutty. Tell the computer's going to trip the ABS code because it knows it's not getting a clean signal. Something is wrong. Now, you would have never thought parking your car is going to make your ABS system break down, but in this case, all I had to do was take the wheel off and take off the sensor, and the tone ring was all rusty. And I just got steel brush. Now, whenever you're cleaning things like this, you want to use the finest steel brush you can. They've got various things, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. You get the finest one because you want to take the rust off, but you don't want to take any of the steel off. So you want a really fine brush, clean all the corrosion off, and put it back together again. So simply cleaning the corrosion off fixed it. Now I do have to say I'm at a big advantage over you people because I got the machine and I knew which wheel it was. The other 3 wheels were reporting the right data. So I only had to do one wheel. If you didn't have one of those machines, it's going to be pot luck for you. You're probably going to have to pull all 4 wheels off, check them all, and clean them all if they're rusty. But, I mean, then you don't have to buy the machine, which you're not going to buy unless you're a mechanic. Of course, we mechanics have the equipment that can do it a lot faster, but there it is. This car sat too long, things got rusty, made the ABS light come on. Didn't have to buy anything, just had to clean the stuff off. And since most mechanics these days charge $120 an hour labor up, it may be worth your while to do something like this yourself, rather than say, oh, my ABS light is on, and odds are you're going to go somewhere that isn't as honest as old Scotty here, and they're going to start selling you ABS sensors and tone rings, and you might get a gigantic bill for something that you could fix yourself with a wire brush and a little time of taking it apart and cleaning all the sensors and tone rings and putting it back together again. Because on most cars, if the ABS light comes on and you fix the problem, merely driving the car down the road will reset that light. You don't need a computer to reset the light if you fix the problem on most cars. Now, of course, that doesn't count things like Mercedes, BMW, Audi. You're going to have to go pay one of their mechanics to reset it because those guys are evil and they always want to get as much money as they possibly can out of you. So they make everything so that if you fix something, you got to reprogram the computer and tell it. So that keeps do-it-yourself guys from working with those cars much. But if you are a do-it-yourself guy, take Scotty's advice. Just don't buy one of those cars in the first place. There's plenty of good cars out there that you can fix yourself and don't have to reprogram things like that because they weren't greedy like the Europeans were. And since this is mechanic money, I'm going to give one of these great through-night lights out. They're small, but they're very powerful. You can get one light, you hit it twice, you can get warning lights. They're great little flashlights. This is a through-night T1. Now, look at this. These look the same, right? This is a different company one. This is a Wildtac. Well, I compared these two. No comparison. Now, this one is $15 cheaper than this one. This one has a battery more than twice as strong as this one. It lasts well over twice with this. They both do the same thing. You turn them on, and then they can do flash and stuff, too. I mean, they work exactly the same, and they have magnetic bases to hook on. But this one is so much better. You're buying a flashlight, always look at the milliamps that it has. This is a very strong battery. This has one that's half the power, and it lasts less than half the time. If you put it on bright mode, and let's face it, you get a small flashlight, you can have it on bright mode most of the time. And to have a chance to win this great little flashlight, just place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below to get this great little flashlight that not only lasts a long time, but it's bright as can be. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.